Okay, Shua Tov Islam. We're going to be starting Bezat Hashem where we left off on Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet. 3 lines in the bottom of Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet. Amar, the last word on the line, 3 lines up from the bottom. Amar, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. In the English, you're on 12B-4, right side column, the bottom line there, the last line on the right column on 12B-4. Okay, before we start today's Gemara, we need a little bit of an introduction. I'm going to ask you to turn back to 11B2. Turn back to 11B2. There's a note number 10. Very important note here is 11B2, note number 10. Okay, what are we dealing with? We mentioned already that we have to have Pesach in the springtime. We have to have Sukkot. We're going to have a pasuk in today's shir that's going to be saying that Sukkot has to happen in the fall, in the autumn. So Pesach has to be in the spring, and Sukkot has to be in the fall. Now, we know already spoke about this past couple of weeks, is that the Hebrew month, the Jewish month, has 354 days, because we go by a lunar year, each month being about 29 and a half days. And we have the solar year being 365 and a quarter days, right? 365 and a quarter days is the solar year. 354 days is the lunar year. So we lose about 11 days each year from compared the lunar year to the solar year. That's why we throw in a other bet in order to put it back in place. Now, we already learned that in the times of the Gemara, in times of the Beit HaMikdash, they looked at other things also: the bridges, the ovens, the korbanot, the wheat, did it ripen, and all that stuff. We already learned. But remember, the pasuk said it has to be in the springtime and it has to be in the fall time. We're going to see the pasuk for the fall time today. How do we know how many days is in each season? This is what note number 10. We're going to start on 11B2, note number 10. That's what we're looking at right now. How many days are in each season? Each season has 91 days. Look at the bottom where it says note. There are 91 days and 7.5 hours between each season. In Hebrew, the season is known as tekufa. The tekufa is when the season changes. Yom tekufa, the day of Tekufa means the day of the season change. Tekufa means that season. And the season is named after the month where the season happens in. For example, you have Tekufa Tishrei, that's the fall season. You have Tekufa Tevet, which is the winter season. You have Tekufa Nisan, which is the spring season. And Tekufa Tammuz, which is the summer season. According to Shmuel, each season is 91 days, 7.5 hours. Okay, that's just the season. 91 days and 7.5 hours. That's the seasons. So now, when we're calculating the months, the months now have to equal up to this season. You have to make sure that everything falls in the right season. The truth is, and we mentioned this many times, that it's really not 365 and a quarter days. It's actually a little more. And that's why most of Europe in the year 1582, right, over here it says, they changed from the Julian calendar to the calendar we use today in the secular world, which is the Gregorian calendar, because it's a little more than 365 and a quarter day. And so they had to make up for those days. That's why the Pope Gregory added in 11 days to the calendar to make up for all the years that they didn't make up for the time that was passing, and therefore the seasons weren't matching anymore. So the Maisem, 91, 7.5 hours, that's the time for every season. Okay? All right, now that we know this, now we can start on 12B4 where we're actually holding. All right, let's take a look. 12B4, right side, bottom, Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel. As we turn to 12B5, Ein Ma'abirin et Hashana. We're not going to extend the year by a month. We're not making an other bait. Elu im kain hayata tekufa hasera ruba shel chodesh. Unless the season gets into most of the month. Now, what does this mean? Let's take a look at Rashi. Rashi is on the second to last line on the Hebrew side. On the Rashi, you see, Ein ma'abirin hashana. We don't add on to the year. Al hatikufa, on to the season. El im kain chishvu umatsu'u shitkufas tamos chaser mehashlemos tish'im ve'echad yoim shalah. Unless we see that the summer season, the 91 days of it, ruboy shel chodesh tishrei, gets into the majority of chodesh tishrei. Tishrei is supposed to be the fall season. If the summer season is going to encroach into the majority of Tishrei, then you have to add on a leap year. That's what the Gemara is saying. If Chodesh Tishrei, the month of Tishrei, most of it will be in the summer season because you have to have 91 days, 7.5 hours for each season. So if you have 91 days from the summertime, right? From the summer season, when it actually became the summer solstice, right? In English, summer and winter are solstices, and the autumn and the spring is called the equinox. It's really the position of the sun when it turns, or how far or how close it is, right? So the chama ruba shel chodesh, and how much is the majority of the month? Tisha asar yom. If summer is 16 days into Tishrei, then you have to add on another month. Divrei Rebbe Yehuda. These are the words of Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Yossi, I remember, Rebbe Yossi says, no, echad ve'estrim yom, 21 days. When it means the majority of the month, it means if summer extends into Tishrei 21 days, then that's a problem. You have to add on another month. But if it's less than 21 days, then you don't have to add on a month. So up until this point, what we learned was as follows: that Chodesh Tishrei is supposed to be the fall season. But because of we're losing 11 days every year, it's possible that summer gets into the month of Tishrei. Now, how much can the month of Tishrei have of summer without needing to extend it? According to Rabbi Yehuda, 16 days. If 16 days of Tishrei, if day 16 of Tishrei, now what's day 16 of Tishrei? No, Ephraim, what's day 16 of Tishrei?
Holiday of Sukkot, no?
Which day of Sukkot? Very good.
It's second day. Good.
Second day, which would be the first day of Chol Hamoed. Very good. Second day of Sukkot. First day of Chol Hamoed. So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, as long as the first day of Chol Hamoed is already fall, that's good. But if the first day of Chol Hamoed is still winter, then that's a problem. You would have to extend the year by a month. So in Chodesh Adar, they make the calculations in Chodesh Adar, and they see that Sukkot, the first day of Chol Hamoed, will be winter. They have to then add a month in order to make sure that it will be in the fall. Okay? Not in the summer. And Rabbi Yossi, on the other hand, says, no, as long as it's the 21st day. As long as the 21st day of Tishrei turns into fall, then I'm okay. It could be summer up to the 20th day. The 21st day has to be the fall. Now, what is the 21st day of Tishrei? 21st day of Tishrei is the last day of Chol Hamoed. Okay, we're looking in Eretz Yisrael, where Sukkot is 7 days, starts on the 15th. At 7 days, you're up to 21. Shmini Atzeres would be on the 22nd. So, according to Rabbi Yossi, as long as the 21st day of Tishrei is fall, then we're okay. You don't have to add on another month. You don't have to add on another Adar. But if it's 22nd day, then that's a problem. You're going to have to add on another month. Now, the Gemara says, where are they both getting their idea, 16 and 21? Ushneim mikra echad darshu. They're both learning from the same pasuk. What's the pasuk? The pasuk says, we have in the Torah, this is a pasuk in Shemot. It says, Hag HaAsif, the holiday of gathering, That's Sukkot. That's when you gather in all the food after the summer season. You bring it in. Chag ha'asif, tikufat hashanah. It happens at the change of the year, when the season of the year. It means when it's fall. When you're in the autumn, that's when Sukkot has to happen. Now, Mar Savar, Kula Chag Be'inan Bitkufa Hadasha. I need the whole holiday to fall in the fall time. That's why Rabbi Yehuda says the first day of Chol Hamoed already has to be in the fall time, because it says the Chag, the whole Chag. Now, why not the first day of Sukkot? So the Gemara, they explained, the Mefarshim explained, the first day of Sukkot you cannot gather in anyway. You know, it's asur to gather stuff. You're not allowed to collect things and bring them into the house on Yom Tov. So therefore, he says the whole Chag means from the whole Chol Hamoed has to be the time of Chag Ha'asif, of carrying things in. Umar Savar, but Rabbi Yoshi, he holds Miktas Chag Be'inan Bitkufa Hadasha. No, I don't need the whole Chol Hamoed to be in the fall. As long as part of it is in the fall season, in the autumn season, then I'm okay. So far, what we have is two opinions. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosi. They're both darshaning from the same pasuk. Rabbi Yehuda holds, I need the whole Chol Hamoed to be in the fall time, from the first day. Therefore, the 16th day of Tishrei already has to be autumn. Already has to be fall. And if the 16th is not going to be the fall season, then you're going to have to add on another Adar to push off the time to make sure that it will be in the fall season. According to Rabbi Yosi, I don't need the whole Chol Hamoed to be in the fall season. I just need one day to be in the fall season. Therefore, the 21st of Tishrei is the deadline. If it's going to be fall season by 21st, you do not have to add on another. If it's not going to be fall season by the 21st, it's only going to be on the 22nd, then you would have to add on another Adar. Okay, so far, so good. Now, before we move on, we have to define one other item. My ko svare. What do they hold? What does Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Yehuda hold? What does this mean? Yom Tekufa Gomer. Do they hold the day of Tekufa is part of the old one? What does this mean? You know, just the same way Rosh Chodesh, right? The moon changes in the middle of the day. Like we just read on Rosh Chodesh Shabbat Mevarchim, if you're in a show where they mentioned the Molad is going to be Friday. It's going to be a day before Rosh Chodesh. What's the Molad? The Molad is when the moon actually changes, when it actually is rebirth. Now, we don't hold Rosh Chodesh to be on the actual Molad. In fact, Rosh Chodesh can be up to 3 days before, up to 3 days after the Molad, right? Usually not more than 3. So we have to decide, as a Beit Din, have to decide what day is going to be Rosh Chodesh, because you cannot make Rosh Chodesh in the middle of the day. So the same thing here by Yom Tekufa, when the season changes, the day where the season changes, it changes in the middle of the day. Does that day be considered part of the previous season, or does that day considered part of the new season? Understand the question? Is the day of the season change, the Yom Tekufa, the day of the actual change, where it's going from summer to fall, is that considered part of summer, the whole day, or is that considered part of the fall? That's the Gemara's question. So we're starting again. My Kosvari, what do they hold? Iksari Yom Tekufa Goimer, if they hold that the day of the season change is considered part of the previous season, the Lab Hachinami. Loylaman de Amr Kula Chagika, Loylaman de Amr Mixas Chagika. El Ksaver Yom Tekufa Matchil. Gemara says, you know what do they hold? They cannot hold that the day that the season changes is the day that belongs to the previous season. Because they said as long as the 16th becomes the fall season, or they said when the 21st becomes the fall season, then you're okay. If the 16th or 21st becomes the fall season, if you held that it belongs to the previous season, then it's still summer. It's not fall yet. So they must hold that the day of Tekufa is part of the next season. So right now we're coming out with this opinion of both Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Yehuda, that they hold that the day of the Tekufa, the seasonal change, is considered part of the new season. So therefore, if the season changes on the 16th, this way the whole Chol Moed will be in the fall season. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you do not have to add on a month. According to Rabbi Yossi, if the 21st is the day of the season change, it's considered part of the new season. You do not have to add on a month because you have part of Chol Moed being in the fall season. You do not have to add on a month. So far, so good. And if the Gemara ended here, it would be pretty simple. But now the Gemara is going to bring a Tosefta. Okay, Tosefta is a Braita. It was outside the Mishnayot, but the same rabbis of the Mishnah. So Mitveh, they're now asking a question from this Braita. The Braita says as follows: Yom, you have a question, Ephraim?
Yeah, if they say it should be full 16 or full 21 days, that means that should be on the previous calendar, on the previous season.
They said that if day 16 of Tishrei will become the fall season, it's considered already part of the fall season. The change of the season day, the day that the season changes, is considered part of the new season. That's what they hold. So day 16 of Tishrei or day 21 of Tishrei is the day of the seasonal change, is the equinox, is the autumnal equinox, then that would be considered part of the fall season, and it's good. Now, we're bringing it to Sefta, Meitvei. It says, Yom Tekufa Gomer, the day of the seasonal change, actually, the equinox, belongs to the previous season. And who says this? Divrei Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Yehuda says. So now we have a problem. That's problem number one. We just brought and said Rebbe Yehuda and Yosi both hold the day of the equinox is considered part of the new season. Now we're saying Rebbe Yehuda holds that the day of the equinox belongs to the previous season. Okay? Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi holds Yom Tekufa Matchil. No, the day of the equinox, of the seasonal change, it belongs to the new season. So Rabbi Yossi is the same. We have our issue with Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, that's one problem from this Tosefta. The Tanya. And then we further learn. Now we're going to have numerous opinions about when you have to add on the month. So let's take a look. Ein ma'abirin hashana ela im kain hayita tekufa hasira rubo shel chodesh. We do not add on a month to the year unless we see that most of the month of Tishrei will be in the summer. The chama rubo shel chodesh, and how much is considered most of the month? Shisha asar yom, 16 days. Now this is an anonymous statement belonging to the Tana Kama, to the first Tana in this Braita, in this Tosefta. He said 16 days. This was the opinion that we had as Rabbi Yehuda, but it's not brought down in Rabbi Yehuda's name now. It's brought down in Tana Kama. Now the Tosefta brings Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, when is it? Shtei adot b'chodesh, 2 parts of the month. When two-thirds of the month passes, then this is when you have a problem. How much is 2/3 of a month? It's 20 days in. The month is 30 days, so 2 parts is going to be 20 days. So he says 20 days. If it's 20 days in, if it's 20 days and it's still going to be summer, then you have a problem. You have to add on a month. But if it's less than 20 days, you do not have to add on a month. Now, this is not the same Rabbi Yehuda that we had before. We just said 16 days, what the Tana Kama here says. So that's our second issue with Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold that the new season is part of the day of the season change, not part of the new season. This Tosefta says he holds it's part of the old season. And then this Braita says that he holds 20 days, not 16. So that's our issues that Rabbi Yehuda we're going to have to deal with. But let's see further. Rabbi Yossi says you have to do a different calculation. Machshevin, you have to calculate Shisha Asar L'fnei HaPesach Ma'abirin. If Pesach, if Chodesh Nisan, if 16 days into Nisan is still winter, it's still the winter season, 16 days into Nisan, then you have to add a month into the year. That's his calculation. Now, if you do the calculation, if you're up to day 16 in Nisan and it's still winter, now add 2 seasons, which are both 91 days, 7.5 hours. So it's basically going to turn to be 182 days and 15 hours. That's going to be 2 seasons down. That's going to end up in Sukkot. And what's going to happen is Tishrei is going to be 21. Okay? It's going to be summer into Tishrei 21 if you do the calculation. So he's saying if that's the case, if day 22 is going to be still winter, still summer in Tishrei, because if 16th of Nisan is going to be in the winter, then the 22nd of Tishrei is still going to be in the summer. That's just the way the months continue to pile on. So then he says you have to add. But if the 16th day of Tishrei is going to be fall, then you don't have to add on a month. So Yossi is saying 2 interesting statements. He's talking about Nisan. If you're late into Nisan, you have to add on a month. And then he says if you're 16 days into Tishrei, you don't have to add on a month. And this is not what Rabbi Yossi said before. He said 21st day. If it changes on the 21st day, you're good. So we have to deal with this Rabbi Yossi also. Now we have another opinion. Rav Shimon Omer. Rav Shimon says, if you're 16 days into Tishrei and it's still summer, you're going to have to add in a month. This is the same as the Tanakama. Tanakama said 16 days, which was the original Rabbi Huda that we said it's not Rabbi Huda anymore. And now we have the Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon who both say this. Then we have another opinion. Acherim say, Me'uto, even if it's a minority of the month. If the minority of the month belongs to the previous season, then you have to add on a month. The Chama Me'uto, and how much is a minority? Arba Asar Yom, 14 days. The Gemara says, Kashya, we have a question on Rabbi Yehuda. All right, so let's backtrack and review this part of the Tosefta. We came in with an idea that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi both hold that the day of the seasonal change is considered part of the new season. What's the Tosefta? And so Rabbi Yehuda does not agree to that. Okay, we moved on from there. We said they argue. That's not the right Rabbi Yehuda. It's kasha. It's a question of Rabbi Yehuda. Then we brought down numerous opinions. A, Rabbi Yehuda originally held in our first Braita that it was the 16th day of Tishrei that has to change. Then we brought over here, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, the 20th day. So we had a problem with that. We had the Tanakam, Rabbi Shimon, who both hold 16 days into Tishrei. If it's still part of the summer, you're going to have to add a month. So we have 2 opinions of the same. We're going to deal with that. Then we had Rabbi Yossi, who was talking about the 16th of Nisan. And if that's still part of the winter, you have to add on a month. And then he said the 16th of Tishrei, if it's still part of the summer, you're going to have to add on a month. So we have to deal with Rabbi Yossi's opinion as well. And then we had the Acherim, who said 14 days into the month, you would have to extend it. So all these opinions will have to be dealt with. So let's start moving with them. So we're on 13.8.3. Omar Mar. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Shtei Adot B'chodesh Esrim Yom. Rabbi Yehuda said 20 days. If 20 days into Tishrei is still part of the summer, you're going to have to add on a month. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi said, Machshevin Shisha Asa Yom B'fnei HaPesach Me'abirin. If you into 16 days into Nisan, then you would add on a month. And what did I tell you? 16 days. If you add 102 days and 15 hours, you're going to end up by the 21st of Tishrei. So the Gemara says, Hani Rabbi Yehuda. Now you're telling me Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda are the same opinion. 20, 21st, they're pretty much the same idea. So the Gemara says, no. They actually do both hold the same thing, that the 21st has to be, they hold Miktsas HaChag. Part of the Sukkot Chol Hamoed has to be in the fall. But now they argue on this. Yom Tekufa Goimer, the Yom Tekufa Matchil Ika Benayu. They're arguing whether the day of the seasonal change is considered part of the new season or part of the old season. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the 20th day has to be the day of the seasonal change. Why? Because the 20th day is still part of the old season. So you have the 21st day that actually will be in the new season. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the Yom Tekufa has to be on the 20th day because the Yom Tekufa is considered part of the previous season. Therefore, if the 21st day still now will be considered part of the fall season, you do not have to add on a month. According to Rabbi Yossi, Yom Tekufa, the day of the seasonal change, is part of the new season. So if the seasonal change happens on the 21st, so then you're good. You do not have to add on a month. So they both hold the same thing. But they argue on what day does the seasonal change have to be on, because one holds the seasonal change is part of the previous season, and one holds the seasonal change is part of the new season. But they both hold that only parts of Sukkot Chol Hamoed has to be in the fall season. Okay, so far so good.
If it's the same day, why should we add the season then? Based on what you just said, whether day 21 is a part of a previous season or a new season, it's still the same day. Why is one of them saying let's add a whole month, and the other says don't add the whole month if it's the same day?
No, they're both going to say to add on a month if Chol Hamoed does not end up in fall, right? The fall doesn't come in Chol Hamoed. The question is, when is the first day of fall season? According to Yehuda, the day the season changes is part of the summer season. Therefore, the change has to happen on the 20th. Therefore, the 21st of Tishrei will be the day of the new season. And therefore, you do not have to extend. According to Rabbi Yossi, the day of the seasonal change could be on the 21st because the day of the seasonal change is considered part of the new season. But if fall would not have hit, according to either opinion, until the 22nd, they would both have agreed. And according to Yehuda, if the seasonal change was on the 21st, you would still have to add on a month. That's the argument. When the day of the seasonal change, the equinox. Okay? Now, Omar Shisha Asar Lifnei HaChag Ein Ma'abirin. Now, Rabbi Yossi in the Tosefta said 16 days into Tishrei, if it's still part of the summer, as long as it's not more than 16 days, you don't have to add on. Meaning, if it's 16 days or on, you're going to have to add on. But that's not what we just said. We said Rabbi Yossi holds the 21st day you can go up to. 16 days, you don't have to add on. But if 17 or 18 of Tishrei is still part of the summer, you would have to add on. He said, but he said if 16 days into Nisan are still part of the winter, which 182 days plus to it will end up to the 21st of Tishrei, Batirlo, you do not have to add on a month. So he holds up until the 21st, like we were learning the whole time. So why did he say 16? The Gemara says, Loi. He does not actually hold only 16 days in. Rabbi Yossi holds 21 days. As long as the 21st day will be the seasonal change, we're good. So why does he say 16th of Tishrei? So he says, Idi ein ma'abirin. Both cases, you're not going to add on a month. Why does he use this language? Since he said the 16th of Nisan, he used a lashon of 16. He said the same language before Tishrei, 16th before of Tishrei. However, he really holds that the 21st of Tishrei is when the equinox has to be. So far, we're coming out as follows. Both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi hold that only part of Chol Hamoed has to be in the fall. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the day of the seasonal change is part of the previous season. Therefore, the seasonal change latest has to happen on the 20th Tishrei. If you do not want to add, if you're not going to add on a month, because the 21st will now be part of the new season, and we're good. According to Rabbi Yossi, we need the 21st to be the latest 21st to be the seasonal change. Because the 21st, if it's the seasonal change day, the equinox day is considered part of the new season. So far, so good. Now, the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon holds, he said 16 days into Tishrei, you have to add on. Gemara says, Hainu Tanakama. That's what the Tanakama said. The first rabbi in the Mishnah also said the same thing. He said 16 days in. So now you have two opinions that say 16 days in. The Gemara says, Ikimanayu, Yom Tekufa Matchil, Yom Tekufa Goimer. The Lord Messiah. We don't know who holds what. So the Gemara is answering is as follows. The Gemara says, yes, they both say the 16th, but they're arguing, and the same argument of Yosef Yehuda had. The day of the seasonal change is considered what? Part of the previous season or part of the new season? If you hold the day of the seasonal change is part of the previous season, then the latest the seasonal change has to be is on the 15th. when the first day of Sukkot is. So when it comes Chol Moed, the 16th will already be part of the new season. According to the other opinion, as long as the 16th is the day of the equinox, you do not have to add on a month, because now you'll have the whole Chol Moed being in the fall season, because the day of the seasonal change, equinox change, is part of the new season. And we don't know who holds what. So between Rav Shimon and Tanakam, we don't know which one holds is the day of the seasonal change is part of the previous season, or who holds the day of the seasonal change is part of the new season. But that is their machloket. You need a whole Chol Hamoed, but you need to know the day of seasonal changes have to be on the 15th or on the 16th. So now we explain the way Rav Shimon and Tanakama, there are different opinions. It's when the Yom of Tikkufa has to be. Now we're going to come to the Acherim. The Acherim said, Me'uto. All you need is the minority of the month. And how much is the minority of the month? About a simple minority, 14 days. A regular month, let's say, is 30 days. So minority of the month is 14 days. The Gemara says it's very hard to understand. Mike and Savre, what do they hold? Even if you hold that the day of the seasonal change, it's considered part of the previous season, and you need all of Chol Hamoed to be in the new season. If the day of the seasonal change is the 14th of the month, then you have both. You have, because then the 15th will be the day of the new season, right? Which is the first day of Sukkot, not the first day of Chol Hamoed, and you have no problems. The whole Sukkot is going to be in the fall season. So we can't understand why someone would say the 14th of the month. The 14th of the month was no problem at all. Why would you add on a month if you're only 14 days in and it's still part of the summer? So Amar Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, they weren't talking about Tishrei. Acherim b'tkufas Nisan kaimei. They were dealing with Nisan, not with Chodesh Tishrei. They're dealing with Chodesh Nisan. Because it says Shamor in Chodesh Aviv. You have to watch to make sure the springtime, that Pesach is in the springtime. How does Gemara understand this? Shomer Aviv. You have to make sure it becomes springtime, that the wheat and fruit are ripening. The Aviv shel tekufa shehaya b'chodesh Nisan, when the moon is being renewed in the beginning. And how long do you have to say Kiddush Levana? The 14th of the month, because the moon gets bigger and bigger until the 14th. So when it says Shomer et Chodesh Aviv b'Chodesh Nisan, it means that it has to become springtime and ripening by the renewal of the moon in Chodesh Nisan. Therefore, that's what they meant. When you need 14 days, you need it by Chodesh Nisan. Now the Gemara asks an interesting question. The Gemara says, okay, hold on. So if you're telling me that it's only going to become spring on the 15th of Nisan by one day off. Instead of being 14, it becomes the 15th. So now I'm going to add a whole month. I'm going to add a whole month for one day. Adar. Just add a day to Adar. Instead of Adar being 29 days, let Adar be 30 days. This way, instead of spring being the 15th of Nisan, the spring will now be on the 14th of Nisan. Why are you making me add a whole month? That's the Gemara's question. Just add one day to Adar. We always do that. We can always add a day to Adar, 2 day Rosh Chodesh, right? You add one more day to the month. So the Gemara answers, really, this is what it's saying. Amar al-Acha bar Yaakov. When it says 14 days, it's not talking about 14 days into the calendar. It's talking 30 minus 14. That's what it means. Until you get to the day 14. I mean, as long as it's 16 days that are still part of winter, then you're going to add on a month. And how many days is left over? 14 yom, 14 days. Now, the way the Mefarshim explain this is as follows. The halacha would be as follows, according to this Gemara, that if Nisan becomes spring by the 14th of Nisan, you have no problem. If Nisan becomes springtime on the 15th of Nisan, then add a day to Adar. If Nisan will only become springtime on the 16th, then you have to add on a whole month. That's what this Gemara comes out to. Okay? So again, the Gemara here came out with as follows. If the 14th of Nisan will be springtime, you don't have to do anything to the calendar. Leave it as is. If springtime turns on the 15th of Nisan, add a day to Adar. This way it will become the 14th of Nisan. If springtime is only become the 16th of Nisan, then you have to add a whole month to make sure that springtime ends up in the first 14 days of Nisan. So far, this is where we are holding. Okay, that is the opinion of the Aherim, according to Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak. But Ravina comes, and Ravina now gives another opinion in the Aherim. Ravina Amar, Ba'olam Aherim b'Tishrei kaime. We're only talking about Tishrei. We're not talking about Nisan. Don't bring in Nisan, Pesach 14 days in the spring. We're talking about Tishrei. And they hold that the whole Sukkot has to be part of the fall season, including the first day of the holiday. Gemara says Yom Tov Rishon. Why the first day of the holiday? It says the day that you have to gather in. You cannot gather on Yom Tov. Gemara says no. Chag haba bizman asifa. It means the day that comes at the time of gathering. Not that you're gathering on a day, but the holiday comes in the fall season. Therefore, the whole Sukkot has to be in the fall season, including the first day of Yom Tov. Therefore, the 14th day already has to be the new season, because there must be holding that the new season is part, the day of the change is part of the previous season. Therefore, the 15th has to be part of the new season already, and then you will not have to add on a month. But if the 15th of Nisan would be the day of the seasonal change, according to this opinion, you would need to add another month. Okay, do you want me to review all the opinions again? Yeah, kind of break it up. Some yes, some no. All right, so it's very simple. It's very simple. If you remember two arguments, you remember one argument, you're gonna know all the opinions. Okay. The first argument you have to remember is the day of the seasonal change, the equinox, solstice. Is it part of the previous season or part of the new season? That is the machloket. Then you have to know the other machloket is: do you need for Sukkot to be the entire time in the fall season, or only part of it? So if you need only part of it, that's the machlokes of Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda. Now you have the same machlokes, the day the seasonal change part of the old one or the not. So then there has to be the 20th or the 21st. That's Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda will hold it's part of the old season, so you needed to change on the 20th. Rabbi Yossi holds part of the new season, so the same season has to change on the 21st. Same machlokes for Rabbi Shimon and the Tanna Kama. Shimon and Tanna Kama, they hold the whole Chol Hamoed has to be part of fall season. Question is, the day of the seasonal change is a part of the old season or the new season. So one holds that it's part of the old season, so it has to change on the 15th. Other one holds it's part of the new season, so it has to change on the 16th. Now, Cherem, according to Ravina, says the whole Sukkot has to be, and the day of the seasonal change is part of the previous season, and therefore it has to be by the 14th of Tishrei. There has to be the seasonal change. That's the Acherem, according to Ravina. According to Shmuel bar Yitzchak, it's talking about Nisan, and that Pesach, then the springtime has to be by the 14th. And if the springtime is by the 15th, then you add a day to Adar. And the springtime is by the 16th, then you add a month. That's it. That's the whole Gemara. See, not so difficult once you run through it and you keep reviewing it as you're going. It's not that bad. All right. Any questions?
So we just pay attention to the Nissan when we do our calculation, not the T-shirt, right?
So what do we do? What do we do nowadays? Very good. Brian hitting on a very important point. Having this whole mental gymnastic exercise. Now we have to figure out what do we do today. So I'm going to read to you what he writes over here in the Steinsaltz over here. He says as follows. I'm going to read it to you in English. The calendar in use today that I told you already, we have a calendar that works in a 19-year cycle, and almost every 3 years, but sometimes every 2, right? 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 19. Those are the years that we have leap years. So he says as follows. The calendar currently in use does not synchronize the festivals with the seasons. Today, our calendars does not look at the equinox and the solstice to make Pesach and Pesach, whatever. And sometimes you'll have Sukkot the whole time in the summer season. And sometimes you'll have Pesach the whole time in the winter season. Because today there's no korbanot, and there's no reason for specific calculations. The only thing we do with our 19-year cycle is to keep the lunar with the solar year intact. That's what we're doing. Therefore, you can remember some Pesachs were so cold, right? And some Sukkots were so hot. Because today, the calendar does not take into effect all the other ramifications that they did take in the past. That's what he brings here in the Steinsaltz Gemara. Very interesting idea. And if you take a look at it, so let's take a look at it. I mean, when now in the Gaisha world today, when do we say the seasonal change? Solomon, what day is the seasonal change? 21st or 22nd of the month? 21st?
March 20th, no?
March 20, March 21st, 22nd. So that's
It'll
according
be
to
the 21st usually.
right. So then the Gaisha change, and this is, by the way, according to the new Gregorian calendar. According to the Julian calendar, it was always the 22nd. Because of the day lost, because of all that time that was extra, they didn't take into effect, things have changed. Now, this always, if you remember, every 28 years, we do what's called the Birkat HaChama. We do the bracha on the sun, right? Always at this time of the year, and whenever you get to this time, when 28 years in, B'ezrat Hashem, we should come, and it should be to us in a good time. It should come to us. They always go into this of actually the sun. Is it actually 28 years? And it's only according to Shmuel. According to the other opinion, it's not 28 years. And the truth is, it's actually slightly off. That's why the equinox and solstice, although we said what we said, really speaking, it's actually a little bit more off than what it is. Obviously, we go according to Shmuel, that is 91 and 7.5 hours, but it's actually slightly off from that. Therefore, today, the halachic equinox versus the actual equinox will be off. And therefore, the zmanim is all off. That's why, take it for example, take out a my zmanim app and you look to see what time is alot. There's like a million opinions. Everybody's got a different opinion because it's you have, depending on how you're looking, calculating, it changes. And there's a lot of different things into that. So Baruch Hashem, we went through the Gemara together and we explained it pretty simply. We got through it, but obviously the actual scientific moving of everything is pretty complicated. I remember Rosh Yeshiva Rav Belsky was once giving a shiur on it. It was in the 9th grade, and we were learning I believe it was the 9th parak of Psachim that deals with the sky and the changes and this and that, the firmaments and all. And he came up to give a shiur. It just flew over my head, and it's hard to understand it. And how many times someone tried to explain to you that the sun is actually not moving and the earth is, but we actually see the sun is moving. The sun doesn't move, it's the earth that's moving. But the Torah talks in the way we see it. So it talks about the way the sun is moving. All these things are pretty complicated stuff. The article has a book on Birkat HaChama, on the blessing of the sun, where it does a pretty good job in trying to explain the actual rotation of the sun versus the way we see it and everything like that. But for us, this, I think, should suffice to understand the seasonal change, equinox, solstice, and how they would take it into calculation. All right.
When is the next Birkat HaChama?
It's every 28 years. When was the last one?
Like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I think. Something like that. Yes.
So you can Google it. Tell me what it does. You can Google it.
Okay.
When was the last Birkat HaChama? And then you add 28 years to it. And then that will be the next one. We should all come to it the briut v'shalom. We should be all good and well.
Amen.
All right. I remember I was already past bar mitzvah when it was. So this I don't remember how old I was. I know I wasn't there. That I can remember. I was still living in Brooklyn at that time. Okay. Fine. Let's do one last piece of Gemara, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Okay. Now we're going to be dealing with Smichas Zekanim. What is Smichas Zekanim? Smichas Zekanim is when Chas Shalom, the Sanhedrin gave an halacha, and they gave the halacha wrong, and people made averot because of the Sanhedrin. Now they had to bring a special korban. You can look at the side of the Gemara on the Hebrew side, where Tar or Hashalom, the third pasuk that's brought down, it says v'samchu ziknei ha'eda et yedehem al roish hapar, and the elders would lean on the korban, on the par, lifnei Hashem v'shachat the par lifnei Hashem, and they were shechted to Hashem. This is from Vayikra, first parsha in Vayikra. This is where the halakha comes from. Now, your question is, how many elders, how many zekenim have to lean their hands onto the par? Tanu Rabbanu, Samchu Ziknei. It says that the elders should lean their hands. Yachol Ziknei Hashuk. I might think, anybody, any elder, you walk into the marketplace, go to the bazaar, find some old guy, tell him put your hand on the par. That's what I might think. So Talmud Leimer Eda. It says of the congregation. It means of special people, the Sanhedrin. I might think the small Sanhedrin, part of the 23 Sanhedrin, the small one. Talmud Loimar Ha'eda. No, the congregation. The Muhaddin Shiba'eda, the special Sanhedrin, which means of the 71 judges of the Sanhedrin, Gadola. And how many do you actually need? Do you need all 71 leaning on it? Gemara says, as follows. It says the word v'samichu. It says to lean. Chu is plural. So shenayim, you need two. Then it says ziknei. Ziknei is also plural. So another shenayim. You need another two. The ein beitin shakul. And you never have an even beitin. Even though you're not dealing in cases of judgment here, but down the line, we never have an even beitin. So you need to add one more. So mosnefin aleim odehad. You add one more. Harei kan hamisha. So you need 5. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you need 5 judges, 5 members of the Sanhedrin Gedola to be leaning on this par. Rabbi Shimon argues. He says it says ziknei, the elders. Shenayim is 2. The ein beitin shakul, and you have no even beitin. So masiv alim odechad. You add 1. Harei kan shalosha. You need 3. So according to Rabbi Shimon, 3. According to Rabbi Yehuda, 5. Now the Gemara asks, Rabbi Shimon, why don't you learn from v'samachu like Rabbi Yehuda says? V'samachu is another 2. It's a plural word. So 13b3. The Gemara, so Rabbi Shimon answers, what do you mean? I cannot use that word to tell me I need 2 more judges. I need the word v'samachu to teach me that I need to lean on it. It's not an extra word to tell me 2 more judges. I need the actual word to tell me you have to lean on it. Rabbi Yehuda, now the question is, Rabbi Yehuda, you learned you need 2 from there. Don't you need that word to tell you need to lean on it? The imkain, he says, no, I don't need v'samachu to teach me that. Lichtov, let the pasuk just say, al rosh hapar. The elders should put their hands on the head of the par, al rosh hapar, and I will know that you need to lean on it. I don't need to say the word v'samachu. Therefore, since it says v'samachu, it's extra. Therefore, I learned you need 2 more judges. Reb Shimon. So you see, v'samachu is still extra. Why do you say you need to learn from it? He says, who says that al? How does it mean my al? The samach. What does it mean al on the head? It means next to the head. The samach. Put it on the neck. Put it on the shoulders. I don't know you have to actually lean on the head. I don't know that from the word al. So Rabbi Huda says, yeah, you're right. You know what? Rabbi Huda says, Gama rosh me'ola. I make a gezerah shava. Rosh. It says by ola, you have to lean on the ola. And it says the word rosh there. Here it also says the word rosh. So I learned you have to lean on both of them. Rabbi Shimon, loy gomer rosh ma'olah. Rabbi Shimon said, I don't have that gezerah shava. My rabbis never taught me that gezerah shava. So therefore, the word v'samechu is not extra. I need to teach me you have to lean on it. Therefore, I need 3 judges. Rabbi Yehuda says the word v'samechu is extra because I learned to get to leave it from the rosh. He says 5 judges. What does the Rambam? What is the Rambam? The Maimonides say is the actual halacha. He says as follows. The halacha is when the public sins due to mistake of the great Sanhedrin, they would bring a par for a kapara, and all what you need was 3 zikanim of the Sanhedrin to lay their hands. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon, and the Gemara Yerushalmi, the Yerushalmi also says the same ruling that you only need 3. So that's the halacha. You would only need 3 zikanim to put it on the par that comes as a kapara for the Sanhedrin's mistake of what they told the people to do. Rabotai, I'm going to shut it off from recording. Give me 1 second.